Hey everybody, Jake here for American Muscle, and in this video we're taking a look at the Borla Attack Catback exhaust system with black chrome tips fitting 2013 and 2014 Mustang GT as well as 2013 Boss 302 models. If fantastic sound, great build quality, and cool looks are on your list for a new exhaust on your late model S197 GT or Boss 302, then you're in luck, because this Borla Attack system is just what you're after. Combining excellent build quality with cool stealthy looks and an awesome noise, this exhaust is an excellent choice for the Coyote owner who wants it all. However, make no mistake, this one is loud. On our loudness meter, this one goes right at the top, folks, with a 5 out of 5. Definitely enough to make a big difference in the experience of driving your Mustang. Now, Borla is well known in the enthusiast community for making some of the best exhausts you can buy, especially when it comes to the sound. And the Attack series is the loudest of the bunch. Now, like you heard in the clips at the beginning of the video, you're gonna get that deep, burbly, aggressive race car inspired note on the outside. It's a great sound, truly, and I love when this gets bolted onto one of our Mustangs because I get to just enjoy what is basically some music coming out of the pipes. Now, this system will work with factory manifolds, aftermarket shorty headers as well, and you can keep your factory cats in place, so it will sound great and be street legal. Now, let's be honest, making the Coyote V8 sound good is not hard to do, but balancing a good sound profile and volume in a way that won't make your ears bleed is a much harder thing to accomplish. And that's where Borla walks the line better than most others. Now, they've got some neat tricks up their sleeve to make it all a very pleasing sound and eliminate drone, so this system goes beyond just being loud. First is an X-pipe. Now, this is going to help eliminate drone by allowing the exhaust gas pulses to cross over and intermingle, so you don't get that horrible drone. The X-pipe also has another big benefit, and that's a power increase. Now, since this allows crossover, it again is going to help with exhaust gas scavenging, and it's going to pull those exhaust gases through the system and push them together. Basically, it allows for better flow, especially up at the top end of the rev range, because you're getting that nice crossover there, which, as you Coyote owners know, top of the rev range is where these engines thrive. So you're going to get a bit more power up top as well, but there's even more that Borla baked here, and it's right here in the name. Now, Attack, ATAK, stands for Acoustically Tuned Applied Kinetics, and that's a Borla exclusive technology that allows them to tune each exhaust for a specific vehicle application. In comes another buzzword, something that they call polyphonic harmonizing technology. And the point is, it's not just a buzzword, it actually eliminates any of the buzz. So this is essentially the same type of science that goes into tuning pipe organs. So what they do is they use different lengths of pipe to control different frequencies, thus eliminating obtrusive or dissonant sounds. Now, in this system, they're going to be inside of the muffler here, which you might be able to see a little bit if I hold this up. So these trick bits, again, utilize different sizes and diameters of piping. Some have perforated tube-shaped cores, and there's different patterns within to make all those frequencies harmonize and come together nicely, so you get that really cool sound and volume that you want with zero drone. So even though this is going to be much louder inside the cabin than your stock exhaust, you're actually going to be able to enjoy it even on a longer road trip. Now, you may need to turn up the volume on your favorite song, but when an exhaust sounds this good, I think it's a small price to pay, especially since you're not going to get that drone. Then, of course, we have to mention the tips. These are 4.5-inch dual black chrome tips, and I will admit that I think these look pretty darn sick. Now, this is going to exit obviously in the same spot as your stock exhaust, but those tips are quite a bit bigger than what you get from the factory. But it's a similar style, and it's a more subtle approach when it comes to the look. And that dark chrome, I think, really finishes things off nicely. However, any subtlety is absolutely thrown out the window immediately once you fire this thing up. So while a casual observer may not notice the tips right away, they're certainly going to be able to tell you've got an exhaust once you start the car up. Now, as far as construction goes, again, this is a really high quality system. Borla makes all of their exhausts out of T304 stainless steel, so you're going to get excellent corrosion and rust protection here. Everything here is made from T304 steel, from the flanges back to the tips, so it's about as good a quality as you're likely to find anywhere. And as you can see, it's just a nice piece of kit. The piping is all 2.75-inch mandrel bent tubing all the way through, and it's put together pretty nicely. There's no wrinkles or weird restrictions in the system. And that means that all the exhaust gases are going to flow smoothly through from front to back, allowing your engine to breathe better than the stock system and reduce back pressure, which can be helpful for increasing power. Now, pricing for this system will come in at about $2,400, and that is not what you describe as cheap. That is going to put it at the top end of the category when it comes to the price for exhaust for this gen of Mustang. But the quality and the sound here are more than worth it, in my opinion. If you want something that's going to last you a good long time and is going to have a great sound to go along with it, this is an excellent choice for your build. Installation will come in at a 2 out of 3 and should take you about 2 hours to get the job completed. Now, this system is designed to be a fully bolt-on installation. It's going to utilize all your factory exhaust hanger locations. However, one thing that is worth noting is that if you do have a Boss 302, installing this system means that you lose the function of the factory side pipe cutouts. But there's no modification needed to get this fitted, so even if you are a Boss 302 owner, you're just going to have to decide if you're willing to make that sacrifice. With that said though, let's head on over to the install bay and we'll show you the process.
First install, you need a 3/8 impact and ratchet, a 15, 13, 8, and 7mm socket, flathead screwdriver, cutting tool, exhaust hanger tool, a type of grease, and also not shown be a lift and pull jacks. All right, today we're gonna be installing a catback exhaust on our Mustang, so let's get started. All right, now we're gonna take our H-pipe off. So we have 2 clamps in the front, 2 clamps in the rear. We're gonna start in the front with our impact and 13mm socket and take our 2 front clamps off. All right, do the same thing on the other side. All right, now we have our 2 clamps at the back part. They are a 15mm socket. All right, now we can remove our H-pipe. All right, now to remove the rest of the exhaust, they are the same thing on either side. We're gonna start by loosening the clamp behind the muffler so we can take off the pipe that goes over the axle. All right, we're gonna grab our impact and 13mm socket and loosen our clamp. All right, now we'll get it over the axle pipe and just feed it forward. All right, now we're gonna grab our exhaust hanger tool and come to the muffler. There's a hanger on the rear that we're gonna take off, and then the muffler should slide backwards and be able to come down. All right, now you can go ahead and repeat the same steps for the other side. All right, first thing we need to do before we start installing our exhaust is we need to reuse our factory clamps. So at the front on our H-pipe, we have 2 clamps that are welded on. We're just gonna grab a cutting tool, the cut-off wheel. We're just gonna cut where that's welded on both sides, and also the same ball clamps on the mufflers. Also, we are going to be reusing our rear H-pipe clamps, so you can take those off too. All right, now we just have to install our 2 protective sleeves that go on either side in the rear of the vehicle to protect our fuel filler line and our vapor line. All right, so we're gonna start on our passenger side. What we have an 8mm bolt holding the fuel return line to the body. We're gonna take that out, disconnect the line from the fuel tank, slide our sleeve over, then reconnect everything. All right, now this is probably gonna be pretty hard to see, but right here we have a reusable zip tie, which we're gonna take off of our return line. Just push the tab and then slide it off. That will be reused. Right here, we have our 8mm bolt. Take that out. And then right here, follow the line on top of the gas tank. There is 2 push tabs on the clip. Squeeze them together and then pull the line off. See the 2 squeeze tabs right here. Take your sleeve, feed it over. Your sleeve's gonna go about where that zip tie was. You can reinstall our line and our bolt. All right, and then take our zip tie and re-secure it. All right, now we're gonna come over to the driver's side to our fill neck. This also might be kind of hard to see. There's a clamp here with a 7mm nut that we're gonna loosen up. Slide that back. Now it might be a little stuck on there. If you need to, you can get a flathead screwdriver and gently just break the hose away from the pipe. Just make sure you don't damage the hose. Work the fill line off. Grab your sleeve, slide it over, and then reconnect the fuel line. And then we can put our hose clamp back in place, tighten it back down. All right, now we're gonna come to our exhaust isolators. We're just gonna grab some grease. We're gonna grease up where the hangers would go in the isolators, just to make the install a little bit easier. Grease up the front and the back. Just go ahead and do that for the rest of the isolators through the system. All right, now we're gonna come to the front to our cat pipes where our ball clamps are. We're gonna put our factory clamp over. Take our small pipe with our ball flange on it. And what we're gonna do is just snug up the clamp just so it doesn't fall. All right, now you go ahead and do the same thing for the other side using your impact and 13mm socket. All right, now we're gonna put our X pipe up. We have our pull jack here just to support the weight. All right, as you see, we already do have our 2 supply clamps already on our pipe. All right, and we just feed it into our cat pipes. All right, now we're gonna put our muffler on our passenger side. So we have our hangers in the rear and our third one back here. We have our factory ball clamp already on. All right, now we're gonna install our passenger side over the axle pipe. We had to install our muffler first because this would have interfered with installing the muffler. So now we're gonna feed it up over the axle into our factory clamp on the back of our X pipe. All right, now you can repeat the same process for the driver's side muffler and over the axle pipe. All right, now we're gonna go through starting at the front, working way backwards, tightening our clamps and adjusting as we need. So we're gonna start with our front ball clamps. We're gonna grab our impact and 13mm socket and tighten them all the way down. All right, then we have our next set of clamps here. So we're gonna grab our impact and 15mm socket, tighten them down. All right, now we have our 2 factory clamps after the X pipe, impact and 15mm socket. We'll tighten those up. All right, now we're gonna come back to our muffler and tighten our factory ball clamp with our impact and 13mm socket. All right, you can go ahead and do the same thing for the other muffler. All right, that wraps up our install of our Borla Attack catback exhaust with black chrome tips for our 2013 to 2014 Mustang GT and our 2013 Mustang Boss 302. And remember, for everything Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.